But there's many records of Wan Kam Leung fighting. This guy was a fighter. He was like doing Beimo. Beimo is kind of those illegal fights they do on the Hong Kong rooftop.
And this was
money.
Ip Man's student.
That was Ip Man's student, who is the guy who taught Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee, okay.
And actually, he's the guy who brought Bruce Lee to do those fights. And Bruce Lee really got addicted to these kind of things and then start to, because they were kind of like fights for money, for triads, like they bring different styles together. Actually, they bring like, I don't know, Prey Mantis versus Wing Chun or it was
so the Chinese triads were like the first UFC, right?
Basically, yes.
They were organizing fights.
Absolutely.
And bring all these different types of styles together to fight.
Yes.
And obviously they bet money and...
They bet money. Just doing it for money.
That's so funny. The Chinese triad was the first form of UFC.
Like kind of like they were on top of the roof. And actually there are also videos of Bruce Lee fighting on the rooftop and also Wan Kam Leung. So there's
like real fights.
Real fights. Like they were, the first one who gave up, they were not killing each other, but they were barefoot. They were they were mostly like valetudo. They were just like the first UFC with no gloves, anything go.
Bare
kind
knuckle,
of like,
everything goes. Just first one to give up.
The first one who give up, the win.
Wow.
So it was kind of it was pretty rough in a way. So, and they're just like, this Wan Kam Leung guy actually reportedly won like 300 something. So he was a pretty tough guy.
Okay, yeah.
And he was working for the Triads.
He was working for the Triads?
Sorry, Sifu, but, he was working for those guys that, money collector, that you go to get some, stuff from, somebody owe you money from...
Debt collectors?
Debt
sharks
collector,
kind of
yes. So you go there, you give me money, maybe they break your finger or something.
Mm-hmm.
So there was much connected to the Triads. Actually, the Triads is something that really brought the Kung Fu, that kept it alive in Hong Kong in a way.
Oh, for sure. Back then, China was a mess back then, very poor, and the Triads were like really the main source of power.
Yes.
In a lot of those regions, right?
Yes.
And they were really, in many ways, probably like not only the source of power, obviously they did some really bad shit, but they were also a form of like control and stability for a lot of people.
Yeah. But in the same way the Christian church was for Europe.
Yeah.
In a way the Christian church did some pretty dodgy stuff in a way, like they went to other places forcing their own religions and things, but at the same time, because they were the first one to record and to write with certain kind of priest orders, they also brought knowledge and culture towards. They also we have priests in China. There's still here in Shujiahui, they have still the church. They've actually an Italian priest was the first one to translate from the Chinese language. So those people, in the same way, the Triads and the mafia, it were the same kind of, because the mafia, it was the brigands. They were the kind of criminals back then. They just form a bond, like a family bond between not blood-related people to get stronger. That is something like that relates to go back to humanity since the beginning.
Yeah. Well, they organized